shoot?
We're live.
All right, we're almost ready to start here. So for the people that are joining us on live stream, thanks a lot. This is the VMware Community Podcast. We'll get started in a minute. We have Corey Romero, Elsa, Katie, the community team with Dave Rollins on Hands On Lab. Dave is on the call with us. He's on the phone. You'll hear him in a minute. We'll get started momentarily. As soon as I get my notes up for the show.
Did you make the keynote this morning?
Mm-hmm.
How was the keynote?
It was good.
All right, we'll ask you after a second.
I'm looking for audio tracks.
Okay, I'm ready to go. Dave, are you ready?
I am ready.
All right, we're gonna give it a shot.
Talk show. Recorded live.
Good morning, good evening, wherever you may be, across the nation or around the world. Once again, you are listening to the VMware Communities Roundtable podcast. This is podcast number 410. My name is Eric Nielsen, and with me, my co-host and my co-co-host, Corey Romero and Elsa Mayer, the community team. And we're also live streaming with Katie Bradley here on VMTN. So we're down in Silicon Valley at the UserCon in Silicon Valley, the annual UserCon. They got labs here, and on the show, we have Dave Rollins, who's going to talk to us about what's new with all the hands-on labs. So, Corey, welcome. How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's actually funny. I haven't sat in this little corner for a few years, and last time I did, we were on the community podcast with John Troyer, and I think it was like 200 and something podcasts.
200.
Yeah, so like 200 episodes ago, I was in this very spot. So, yeah.
And Elsa's with us. It's great. We're trying to get the community roundtable to be more like a square table if you're watching us on the feed. But you did a session here today as well.
Yep, went to the keynote this morning and then did a session on power blogging, which we'll share out later today. So it's been a full day already, and excited to do the podcast.
So Dave, you're on the call. I know we have some hands-on labs here too as well, right? So the Silicon Valley, UserCon is a happening place. A lot of people around. Do you know anything about the labs that are here?
Yes, I do. We do have our expert-led style workshop, 2 of them there. We've got one that covers VMware Cloud on AWS, and then the second one is kind of an introduction to VMware NSX.
Nice. Other things are going on. I think we have John Troyer, myself, Elsa, and I think Corey is going to be on a panel at 12:30 today just to talk about community. So it's always fun to hook up with John and see what he's up to.
Absolutely.
Some of the other community leaders are also down here. I forget his name, Yalin.
I forget.
That's here shooting video, doing his stuff on podcasting, and I think he's hosting the community panel as well. So John, we need to get his name. But we'll get on here. So that's good. So good stuff. In the news, I don't think we have much news, and Katie Bradley would like us just to skip the news from now on. So we're going to try to skip most of the news. I don't know if there's any news worthy of saying. Nope. No news. There you go. That's as good as you're going to get, Katie, for skipping. So on the call today, we do have Dave Rollins, and it's really exciting to have Dave back. Dave, we've had a lot of VMworld stuff, but before we get into what's going on with Hands-On Labs, give us the 1-minute elevator pitch. Who are you, and what do you do in the VMware ecosystem?
Let's see if I can get this right. So again, my name's Dave Rollins. I work with the Hands-On Lab team as a content architect. So that I work with all the different divisions within VMware, all the product owners, and really find out what their requirements are for creating the labs. And then as we have those ideas, I help the people. We have a volunteer staff of all the field SEs that I help actually create those labs.
Nice. And where do you work out of? What area of the country?
I'm out on the East Coast. I'm in Maryland.
Maryland. Starting winter time.
Yeah.
Good time. So you're kind of the architect, and then you work with all the volunteers and all the people that are building out these labs to actually make these labs come to be.
Exactly.
Very good, very good. So we haven't had you on the show for like a year now, but it's always good to touch back and see how labs are doing. Where you were at VMworld, there was a lot of there's a popular labs list I think that was going on, the top 5 labs or something. Can you give us some visibility? What were some of the interesting labs you built this year, and what are the popular ones? What can you tell us about some of these labs?
Oh, perfect. Yeah, as usual, and that's why you're seeing it at the VMUG. The most popular lab we always have for the past 4 years is the VMware NSX Getting Started lab. It's always been by far the most popular one, number one, whether it's online or any of the VMworlds. And just consistency throughout the show. We also had vSAN, but the one that really surprised me was the other one that is at the VMUG today, and that's the VMware Cloud on AWS. There was just a lot of interest in that, and that rounded up the top 3 for both shows, so for VMworld US and VMworld Europe.
All right, so we said NSX number 1. What was number 2?
No, number 2.
Virtual fan or vSAN 6 getting started.
Are all listening. Like, okay, Corey and Elsa are like, So yes, NSX, vSAN, and then Cloud.
Right, VMware.
Which, does vSphere still, show up in the top 5?
vSphere in the labs?
Where are we on vSphere?
And that's number 4.
Number 4.
All right. What's number 5?
Yeah.
Let me guess. Number 5 is Horizon.
How did you know? Horizon 7 or 5? Getting started.
we have the interns that come work for us every summer, right? And they're like, what products do we have? And I'm like, well, let's make it clear. We have vSphere, vSAN, NSX, and Horizon. Right? Yeah. Those are the big ones that run in the data center. And then we have smaller ones that are like, Workstation Fusion and a whole bunch of other ones, vRealize Automation and all that.
There's a whole list.
Yeah, so that's logical. That makes sense. NSX, is there anything interesting that's going on with NSX when you see it in the lab? Is it still just a lot of people getting their feet wet in learning NSX? Or has the NSX lab gotten more sophisticated throughout the year or two that you've been building this guy?
Well, yeah, that's a great question. We still see a lot of people just starting to get, into that NSX phase where they want to start virtualizing their networks. So this is still just, again, one of the most popular labs we have, but we're just still branching off of that. This year we introduced kind of the software as a service, so NSX Cloud, where we're now able to, connect your private data center with AWS. And we have that out there as an offering to pick a lab for NSXT or transformers, with multi-hypervisor support. We also introduced the App Defense Lab, so being able to protect your applications. But for the first time, this is a long time coming. This is a lab that I've been striving to get, is an NSX Challenge Lab. So if you're familiar with some of the other labs, we've always had the vSphere Challenge Lab and Horizon, vSphere Automation. And it's really the idea behind the Challenge Lab is where we break it, you fix it. So it provides kind of a more expert level challenge, kind of get your hands dirty on some of the technology. And the NSX Challenge Lab, we finally got it. It's not so much you break it, we fix it, but more of I've got NSX installed, I've got it configured. What are some of the other things? We call them day 2 operations. What are some of the things I may run into during my usage of NSX in my enterprise?
Have you ever considered, so this is interesting from my perspective of the growth of the NSX labs. So you're really saying, what's the count of NSX labs that you actually have now?
Wow.
Just you don't have to tell me exactly, I guess.
But, I'd say there's probably at least 20 labs that focus on some type of NSX technology or NSX partner integration technology.
Right. Interesting. So it's more sophisticated. So Elsa, have we considered having an HOL blog? Is there an HOL blog to anybody? Do we ever get Dave or any of these people talking about what type of labs are out there and what they're building next?
That's a really good question. Probably not as much as we should, but they're definitely out there in the ecosystem.
Do we see a pickup of NSX conversations in blogs now that are kind of doing the same thing where you have these levels of function that you can do? Do we see a variety of blogs showing up from community members to talk about NSX?
On NSX, yeah, definitely one of the hotter topics right now coming through the feed on BlogBeat.
Nice. Corey, on NSX activity, we have the NSX Center.
Yes,
well,
we do.
Right. Mm-hmm. Do we see a pickup in that space? How many NSX experts do we have now?
126. Yeah, absolutely. We see a pickup in that. When we first kicked off the program, the expert NSX, you could definitely see the trend and the learning curve within the program. And versus last year and this year, you start to see a lot more advanced technical content on NSX. It's no more the learning stuff; it's the challenging things. How do you install this? How do you different layers,
right.
Different things. Yeah, so absolutely, we're seeing a pickup in.
So, Dave, when it comes to NSX labs, are challenge labs your favorite labs?
In general, yes. Challenge labs, I think it just benefits everyone. And it's definitely my favorite. It helps the customers, the end users out there running into things that, at least in a lab environment, and makes them aware of what's going to happen. But then later on, from a VMware perspective, it helps us by educating the customers. They're not going to be calling into our support infrastructure and tying them up with the most common calls that they get all the time. So education is key with the challenge labs.
And Dave, just real quick, I did a really quick question for you. For anyone who's listening that doesn't know how to access these are available year-round, right?
That is correct. We just released the labs we had at VMworld right at the beginning of last month. But these are all online. We have over 81 labs that we released at VMworld, which is, again, our new record. Last year, I believe it was about 75. We've got 81 new labs, free sign-up, just at labs.hol.vmware.com. Register for a free account, and you can start taking labs immediately.
That's great. Awesome.
So when you're building out the labs, or particularly the challenge labs, how do you figure out infrastructure you're needed? Like, I've heard stories about NSX being able to go into hands-on lab. You get access to a switch, right, in the virtual environment, in the lab environment online, and then I've seen people break out and actually then practice command sets, right, to configure and also just use NSX without actually having to build your own home lab with an NSX installed. How do you guys figure out what infrastructure you need on the back end to allow people to break things and simulate, fixes? Take us through the process of how you design one of these labs.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so we work really closely with GSF, our global support system, so the wonderful people that if you do have an issue, they call in. So we work with them to get kind of the top 5 most common calls. We also search our knowledge base for kind of the most viewed topics there, and really work to kind of get all those ideas together and figure out, kind of to your point, what we could actually show in a lab environment. Because there's some things that just aren't possible. But then once we do have that list put together, the configuration is fairly easy. We have a lot of flexibility because it is just a virtual environment. We have no, once you deploy that lab, there's no physical hardware involved at all. If we need components, we can just kind of snap them in, pull them out, reconfigure resources as needed. It's really flexible. Probably one of the most powerful things we have in there is kind of a router. It's a virtual router that we can configure and simulate multiple networks, specifically to NSX. And create different scenarios based on different networks without having to tack on additional resources and really tie up the system there.
All right, so that's pretty interesting in its own right in that you're working with GS, you're looking at the top bugs that are coming in that are causing these calls. And so the reality is, if somebody goes and spends time on the challenge labs, you're just going to save yourself a boatload of trouble because we've figured out what everybody's confused at, gotten that in, built the top 10. And then gone off and build a simulator for these problems. It's kind of like doing flight simulation.
Yeah, it's a great strategy.
American Airlines sends their pilots in, and so as an administrator, IT professional, what you want to do is go take the challenge labs. Are you guys going to update these every year so that, like, as the problems get more sophisticated, we'll have challenge lab 2s and challenge lab 3s? Is that in the cards?
Yeah, absolutely. This year we updated a few of them. Some of the challenges are still kind of remaining the same. We may add an additional one the following year, but I believe 3 of the 4 from last year did get a refresh on new challenges.
Nice. I think Elsa has a question that's on the chat.
So is there a way for customers to suggest new lab ideas if anything comes to mind?
Yes, absolutely. We have an HOL idea registry, and I believe I can put that in the chat window. But we use this for VMware employees, for our partners that are out there, as well as customers. And we take that feedback from what they want to see in the lab, all these great ideas, and work with again the different business units for whatever idea that's suggested, and we try to see if we can make a way to get those into our labs.
That's nice. Ideation, right, is a key for community participation. One of the hardest things that I found with ideation, ideation is the idea of getting people to give you ideas so that you can implement ideas closer to what customers are experiencing,
right,
which is neat. The challenge with ideation is having 180 ideas come in and then you can only implement 3.
Right. Yeah.
So do you guys find yourself overwhelmed with ideas for labs?
Do. Fortunately, a lot of them seem to be kind of the same, going down the same path. So we're able to consolidate majority of it. We do have kind of a voting system for the fair, to make it fair for which ideas. But ultimately, it is up to if it's an NSX particular idea. We would take that back to our NSBU or who owns the NSX product. And then they would have final say on what ideas they would put in their lab.
Okay, got it. Just responding to the chat at the same time here, multitasking.
Mitch.
So we spend a little time on NSX and the NSX lab, which I think, obviously the number one thing. The challenges sound interesting. AWS and cloud, I always have to come back to that and go, okay, so you're trying to teach me, you got an AWS on cloud lab. How do you simulate AWS? Do you set up AWS accounts so that when it spins up a lab, I'm now connecting AWS with my vSphere instance? Is it the AWS cloud service that gives you a vSphere data center for $200,000 a quarter or some expensive amount? What do we got going on with AWS?
That is a great question, and we have 2 labs that we're showcasing NSX, or we're showcasing AWS with. Of course, one of them is NSX, and the other one is vCloud, or VMware Cloud. But yeah, we're doing a little bit of trickery with the VMware Cloud on AWS. It's actually a simulation on our end that simulates kind of connectivity and how things would work if you were to deploy VMware Cloud on AWS. It's something that we use kind of internally, even for our partners as well, I believe, just to kind of simulate these things without actually having or incurring that expenditure of AWS accounts. NSX on AWS, that one is a real live running instance where we're showing you NSX on AWS and connecting things from your little lab environment out to a real live running instance of AWS. That one we do have some nice APIs or callbacks where we're able to create an account on AWS and then kind of remove that when you end your lab. So there's some automation going on in the back end just to make sure that we're not costing too much money to run these wonderful labs.
Nice. So simulation for most of the stuff, some connectivity to AWS, and that's how you're doing that. 2 labs, is that what you said? 2 labs? How many labs we got on AWS? I think you said 2.
Yes, that's correct. Those are the 2 we have there now. NSX Cloud on AWS and VMware Cloud on AWS.
So switching gears, I mean, I could take you through the rest of them, vSAN, vSphere, Horizon. I mean, you have 80 labs now or some large number. Any takeaway learnings from VMworld as we got through the VMworld season? Any kind of ideas that you're thinking about for next year with regards to delivery of the labs? Like, I was at the lab environment. It seems like it was running smooth. The lines were not that long this year at VMworld. What are some of the takeaways you have with regards to what was happening at VMworld? Sometimes you have these big screens and you're showcasing, I/O throughput, and you're showcasing number of labs, startup, number of VMs that have launched. Are there any kind of interesting tidbits that you can share with us with regards to how labs ran and what you learned during the VMworld season?
Yeah, absolutely. Both shows were record-breaking years for us. We delivered the most labs ever in a single day. It was over 3,000, and broke records for the most labs delivered kind of at the end of the show. So at the U.S., I think it was just over 11,000. VMworld Europe was 4,200. So we had great years as far as people coming out and coming into the lab environment. I think some of that had to do a lot with our cross-collaboration with CloudCred. We gave away some really, really good prizes this year. Gave away the drone. That was the big one. Some GoPros. All kinds of really good stuff. It was the year of the Echo Dots. We gave away a bunch of those. And thank you very much, by the way, for those.
Yeah. We had Corey doing the I forget Corey's last name, doing the Amazon Echo code thing on how to build code so that you can build vSphere with Amazon Echoes. That was fun. So we gave away a bunch of Echoes, and certainly being part of the lab environment was fun to be a part of. So thanks for having CloudCred there as well, a community ecosystem platform. So yeah.
Okay, so when it's not VMworld season, how many labs do we see completed on like an average day, weekly, monthly basis?
Wow. On average, I believe it's about, we hit about the 1,000 mark typically per day. What we've seen a lot of going on now is kind of VMware employees, partners, even customers to an extent, trying to emulate that expert-led workshop style, where they have that expert, kind of like what you're seeing at the VMUG today with the workshops there, where they get a group, and usually it's an expert who has some expertise, if you will, in that product, and then they walk a room full of 20 or 30 people through that lab. So that's really helping us drive our daily numbers up.
Yeah, I could see that. Absolutely. We have seen the pendulum swing all the way back, right? And I prefer it this way, so I'm hitting the table. So people listening to our microphones doing this, it's because we're on a card table. Here
you just touch it.
If you touch it at all, it's going to make that echo. But I would say that we've seen that pendulum swing back, where instructor-led labs is a nice blend of an online environment, but with an instructor to take you through, answer questions, and basically teach you what the heck is going on with some of this stuff, right? Because you get details from an instructor. So that's been really popular. I know you guys did Lab in the Box a few years ago, where you could actually, if you wanted to lead an instructor-based lab, you could go work with the Hands-on Lab team and get a lab kit that would help you at your VMUG event or at any event, run a lab. Are people still doing that kind of stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. That's actually where a lot of this is spawning off from, this extra activity, as we kind of go out and promote this HOL in a Box program globally at this point. Probably one of our biggest users for that is the VMware Social Lab program. It's kind of a more in-depth version of the workshop, and they utilize HOL in a Box for all these events. I mean, they typically run about 3 days a week we'll run about 2 shows every day, so 6, 12, 18 different workshops a week. But it's kind of a more in-depth version. We're at the VMUG, even at VMworld, it's usually about a 60 to 90-minute workshop. They run half-day or full-day workshops utilizing the labs and kind of keeping that expert in the room to offer their guidance.
Nice. Yeah, I'm glad that's taken off. I think that's something that's really good. I know that I've worked at some of the companies across the U.S., like in Atlanta with Georgia Pacific, where they're not allowed to share anything they're doing. They're not allowed to be in the public ecosystem at all. So having services that allow community members to spin up things company inside focused, right, where you could run a lab for people inside of Home Depot, for instance, right, where they're not allowed to go to a VMUG and participate externally. It's just policy forbidden.
Right. Yep.
So that means that we have the experts that are only internally focused, right? And they do a great job evangelizing. They're part of the community, but they're just a silent community member, right? And,
yes.
And we do a shout out to those guys, right? And some of them listen to our podcast, but they're just not allowed to be public, right?
Right.
So having these programs that allow you to do things internally at your company is an important aspect of what we have to offer at VMware. So appreciate that, Dave. That's pretty neat.
If someone wanted to do that internally in your company, how would they get? How do they get in contact with you? How to set that up?
And I'm entering this into the chat window now. We have a nice little website, and it's kind of evolved through the past few years. And we're actually talking about evolving the whole system even more. But all you need to do is just tell us about your event, fill out a simple form, and we will have everything prepared for you on the back end and have all your labs ready to go.
Very nice. Okay.
Nice, yeah. And I think it's great for VMware to do this. I know Elsa, we look at the code program, and we also look at how do we offer up some of these services for engineers and developers so that there's some infrastructure there and packages that they can then grab and go run a code event at their local site, right, if they want to do internally focused developer training on cloud native or on VIC, integrated containers, some of these stuff. So it's all good that you're doing that, Dave, so I appreciate that. And I think we've seen interest in the code community for that kind of activity as well.
Yeah, absolutely. There's some elements of the code program, the hackathons especially, that people are just always really excited and engaging in. And I remember a couple of years back when the Labs in a Box came out, that there was a lot of interest around that. So we're kind of trying to model this new hackathon in a box after the Lab in a Box model.
The URL to register for the event for HOL, Hands-on Lab in a Box, is vmware.com/go/HOL in a box.
All lowercase.
Yes, all lowercase.
It's web. It's not Linux.
Sorry, HTTP.
Yeah, HTTP.
Turn the computer on.
That's right. Use your mouse. Well, good. I had some more questions I was thinking about. Now I got to figure out what they were, right? Like, where did I want to go with Dave Rollins? Oh, I remember. Where are you going for 2018? What are you guys thinking about? Are there any major interesting things you're considering, or is it going to be more of the same? Are there any acquisitions we're doing where we're going to see some labs show up? What are you? I know you have to do your 2018 goals and objectives, Dave, where they're going to have you write down what you're going to deliver. Otherwise, you're not going to get a raise.
Waiting for it.
Elsa Mayer has to triple the blog traffic next year, so you got to have no problem with it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what are you thinking about for 2018?
2018. Well, to give you a little bit of background, kind of we have 2 development cycles every year. So we deliver labs. We start actually in March at the beginning of the year, and start creating labs for delivery at VMworld. We actually just kicked off what we call our spring release. So we start now in November, and we'll deliver another set of labs here about that March-April time frame. So we're working on a few things now. Again, we just got kicked off, so I can't guarantee that everything we want's going to make it in there. But really the things we're looking at, and I know acquisition ones are a big one. We're still trying to reach out and get in contact with the right people there. Earlier this year for VMworld, we did a wavefront lab. Just by the skin of our teeth, got that in right after the acquisition. But some of the new stuff we're looking at for this new spring release, it'll be available in about the March, maybe April timeframe, or the Internet of Things lab, kind of highlighting VMware Pulse. Another kind of an update to our VMware Cloud Foundation lab. Right now, if you look at it, it's mainly a click-through demo, or what we call an interactive simulation. We want to make that a live running instance so people can really play around, go off script with Cloud Foundation and take a look at it. And one of the more interesting ones that we're looking at is Test Drive. And I hadn't looked at Test Drive in a while. But this is something that, in the past it was, if anyone wanted to...
Dave, hold on a minute. Yeah. Dave, we got a special guest here.
We do. We have a celebrity here.
We got a celebrity. We got to interrupt it. We have Dave Rollins on the call. Come on over here. And so we need to get the special guest. Pablo Roche is with us. Pablo, we're doing a special on Hands-On Labs today. Dave Rollins is on the call.
Say hi.
Dave Rollins, how are you?
4,000 people that watch us live. So,
very excited.
So, Pablo, you're here. We're in Silicon Valley, UserCon. Dave's telling us all about 2018 plans, but from the guy who runs the Hands-On Labs, and we've known each other forever.
Years,
when you got here and watched the whole program turn into where it is. How's it going here in Silicon Valley today?
Well, very excited. We had a couple of workshops, and we also have a booth over there, so we're getting a lot of great questions, a lot of energy from the audience.
What do you do at a booth?
It's a lot about awareness. We still get a lot of people coming in that aren't familiar with the lab, so we just update them on something, and the mornings...
What you're doing and how...
Exactly.
It is, right?
Exactly.
The labs in a box and training, guys can do internal labs, all that kind of stuff. I guess there's, Dave's taking us through, there's a lot of stuff that you're doing now, like 80 plus labs.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I think the most popular ones have been VMware Cloud on AWS, Introduction to NSX, and vSphere 6.5.
That's just from where it is to where it has grown, and including the cloud stuff and all of AWS now, and even some of our test scenarios we run on. We do. One of the things I was going to ask Dave, but as long as you're here, if you got another minute, I'll ask you a question. But you can bail. We just want to say hi and let everybody see who Pablo Roche actually is. Runs all Hands-On Labs. He's director of, I don't know, what is your title? Director of
Technical Marketing? Hands-On Labs.
Hands-On Labs. All right, great. One of the things that we always want to know is what are your big budget bets for next year? Where are you going to try to grow into? Are we going to see 100 labs? And then, more importantly, I remember the question now. Which is you're teaching. You're basically educating everybody. You're enabling everybody to learn all of this stuff. Are we going to have any kind of certification? Or are we going to get some credit for doing all these labs?
The transcripts are available now, so if you take a Hands-On Lab, you can log in and send the transcript to your manager and everything.
Print out a certificate?
It's a print-out certificate, but it's not really certified. It's more of a, here's what I've done and here's the time I spent on it. And we figured that we'd let the education team handle the official certifications and stuff.
So the education people do that?
Yeah.
On some of the
we work very closely with them. They refer our labs for them to do the practice testing and stuff.
Oh, nice.
So there's a lot of natural synergy there. Right. They use the same application in the front end, so it's very very good on every level.
Putting you on the spot, I know, but we were just talking about this. We were just thinking this is a great way to learn, and everybody's doing it, and they're all liking it. And if we could connect I'm doing my labs to get certified and say, hey, I know this stuff. Like you say, go do these. You get tests. We were talking about the challenge labs and how interesting that is, where you get the top 10 list for GS, and then you build a challenge lab around it, and you're just you're educating. It's an advanced degree. I want an advanced degree on IT management.
This is Dave's baby. So he came on and he saw that we needed this creature of happiness built, because it helps a lot of customers around the world. So recently in China, we had rooms full of people taking challenge labs and doing contests, and they were doing time-based contests. So we had hundreds of people taking Dave's labs all the time, and that was in Beijing. And then right after that, exactly, right after that they did it in Japan.
Wow.
So the scale and the way these are growing are just incredible.
Yeah, that's actually interesting in its own right, in that there's like some gamification in the learning of doing the labs and making it also fun like that. And then just doing that. So I see this coming together as the modern day way to do education, which is hands-on, learn it, enable it. And by the way, if you're an educator, we got labs in a box. You can go get the labs and give them at a place like this. So it's just really, really momentum. Great for us. Great for our ecosystem.
Yeah.
Just tearing it up. Better than Microsoft, better than Cisco, better than anybody.
Now I'm blushing.
Yeah, no, I mean, but really, if you look at it, what we're doing with the Labs program is almost as good as the VExpert program. Not quite, but right up there.
Close.
Right?
It's close.
It's close.
It's just Lab Portal. We need the VExperts to be part of it.
Yeah.
So hopefully work closer with Corey and the guys.
Better than all this is the community ecosystem.
It's all about the community.
But really, if you look at it, man, what an asset for all of us, right? Because I'm an IT practitioner, I still, build my home lab. I spend time, make bootable USB chips, install ESX. You're figuring out vSAN, you're figuring out NSX, and how to make a router do what it's supposed to do, and connect a real router to a virtual router. And it's like, if you can just have somebody help you learn this stuff ahead of time, it's just so much nicer. Yeah.
We love saving time.
Yeah, perfect. Well, Pablo, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Go back to Dave Rollins. Give Dave Rollins a big raise if you can.
Absolutely. All right, thank you.
Dave, we just want 20% of whatever that raise is.
Yeah, that's
referral fee.
Something. Thanks, appreciate it. Thanks for doing that. Yeah, exactly. We just saw him walking by, and there's the man himself. So
I got to chat with him this morning at the booth, but
And talk about a good guy showing up and being here in the ecosystem, working the booth. I mean, how many directors do you see that actually show up at a booth or at a little table and actually do?
Today.
Yeah.
Two today.
And Pablo.
Yourself and Pablo.
Yeah. Well, and we grew up from Sun Microsystems. He was over at Sun Microsystems when I was there.
Cool.
And so, there's a lot of hands-on lab. There's a lot of hands-on guys and women who come from that ecosystem, who all know Linux, all know Shell, all know Solaris, all know technology. And we're getting gray hair, we're getting older, but we still love being, in the game, on the floor, being with people, doing cool stuff.
Yeah, I see Pablo at all the not all the VMUGs, but the VMUGs that I go to, I usually see him local, and well as VMworld.
So Dave Rollins, we were just talking about 2018. You were talking about some of the key things that you were looking at. Can you do a recap again?
Sure, certainly. Internet of Things, VMware Pulse.
IoT, cool. How are you going to put a lab around IoT? What are you going to do? Give everybody a little micro device, and or is it management of IoT devices and deployment? Right, I assume that what it is, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I imagine. We're still, we just kicked things off Monday for this release, so we're still kind of talking with people and figuring out the how and the what. We'll start really building these things out in January.
Nice. What were some other ones? IoT, and obviously the core big stack ones, right? You're going to keep doing NSX, you're going to keep doing vSAN and vSphere, Verizon, any other interesting ones?
The only other interesting one that is kind of net new is more of a kind of a walkthrough test drive. So test drive is, again, in the past I'd used it for, you could get a Horizon View desktop, and you could try things out, log in, see how cool things were, and that was about it. It's really evolved over the years, and it's kind of integrated with all the Horizon Suite products, along with AirWatch. If you ever wanted to try anything EUC related, you can go to Test Drive, create a free account, and go to town. So what we wanted to do is create something that just kind of introduced it, showed you kind of the neat things you can do, because it really is more of a complementary service offering to the labs. As you know, the labs, you can go pretty much up to about 9.5 hours, and then that lab you're working on goes away. With test drive, you can get that more longevity, so you can get months at a time, so that you don't lose your day's work after 9.5 hours. You have a little bit longer to try things out.
Yeah, we've heard that feedback from several of our community members with VMworld, that one of the biggest problems that they've seen is just the lack of time you have to accomplish things, right? And that labs was one of those. Another one that was big was, I believe, some of the certification tests, things you had to do, only gave you X amount of time to complete it before you timed out and you had to start over again. And a lot of guys, like for the certification tests online, they don't have that many hours every week to dedicate. Some of those things were like 40 hours in 1 month, right?
Yeah.
Like, geez, if I'm working, I don't have 40 hours of time to spend doing more virtualization when my day job is also virtualization. So it's good that you spread that out. And the name of that was Test. What was the name of the program you're thinking of?
Test drive.
Test drive. Good. I like that. I think that's a great idea. Certainly like that. One of the questions that somebody in the chat commented was that if you come in and you did your own device, bring your BYOD, bring your own device in labs, that you didn't get credit for the drawings. So I don't know if that was true or not, in VM. Somebody mentioned that.
Yeah, I don't think so. That was all, because all that's based off of the end survey. So when you end your lab, this little survey will pop up, but then there's a little QR code that you scanned, and there was no difference between whether you took the lab in our BYOD section or in the thin client section. It should have been the same either way. Right. Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Another question that's on the chat that I'll bring up, or at least a subject that I'll bring up, which is when I get HOL and it provisions me the environments, right? A lot of learning happens in provisioning the environment itself, the install, the setup. So you guys have some labs that take you through setting up the products, right? So you're not just missing all the nitty-gritty details of building out your own environment.
Right. Yeah. So that brings up a great point, and it's really one of the limitations of the hands-on lab is the installation. Anything that's really heavy I/O, when especially installations, copying things, demotioning large VMs, that takes a really good tax on our back-end system. So we try to stay away from that as much as possible and kind of give pre-installed, maybe not necessarily pre-configured in some cases, but we usually do the installation for you. Because of that, we've gotten a lot of feedback that, no, I really want to see what the installation looks like. We did this year, and kind of taken that next step with those interactive simulations or click-through demos. We record the installation and let the users actually click through that whole process. I know it's not the best. It's not like the hands-on of actually going through the installation, but at least you get the experience and kind of are able to follow through with that installation.
Nice. All right, good, because that's kind of the feedback that I've heard a little bit about, right? Which is, how do I do that? And there's a bit of me that says that we actually should probably build an HOL that gets delivered to you that you do on your own home lab, right? Kind of like a lab in a box, but a super light lab in a box. Because lab in a box is designed to you as an instructor go build a course around this. Right. But for me, and this is my own ideation, right? What I'd like to see is something that I could do a lab that walks me through how to set up my home lab, right? And by the end of the lab, I've got my home lab, right? So the lab starts with go buy this equipment, right? Go buy this set of gear, then go set So the lab takes you through how to make a hands-on lab, a home lab.
Yeah, how to build it, how to build out your home lab, right? Install everything. Yeah.
Then I could do the rest of the labs on my own home lab.
Right.
Yeah, and I think there's a market there. Right? I don't know how many it is. Right. It's like I'm pushing away. I'm making the pendulum swing away from cloud and back to like you own it yourself, Steve Jobs. You don't need to just listen to Spotify. I still have this problem. Sorry, I'm getting away from the mic for all your listeners. It's hard to stay close to the mic on a square table.
We have just the little edge of the table here.
If you're not watching this live stream, we literally have a corner of a card table so we can be out together.
Hey, I've got a question. With the acquisition of VeloCloud, do you have any plans for labs around that?
We will be talking with someone about that. We just need to find the right resources for that. But yeah, that would be, I think, an excellent lab.
Great. Okay. Yeah.
So if you don't see that in spring release this March, you'll more than likely see that VMworld 2018.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, if we don't see it then, VMworld. That makes sense.
Right. All right, so I'm running out of questions, Dave. I don't know if there's anything else you want to share with us with regards to hands-on lab. If not, we'll spend the rest of the show just talking about what we think of the Silicon Valley UserCon. So Dave, what's your parting thoughts here for everybody that's taken hands-on lab? Are there going to be better hands-on labs? Things that you should pay attention to? What's your best advice to people with regards to a cadence of how to be always engaged with hands-on labs?
Oh, perfect. Yeah, so I'd say always check our blog. You'll find the latest information there, when we're going to release new labs, anything exciting coming out. We'll probably be posting something later this month about some of the localized manuals we're doing. So for the first time, we're doing French and German, in addition to a lot of the languages we do for APJ and in Latin America. So keep an eye out for our blog on that.
Okay. What is your blog?
And then that one is it?
blogs.vmware.com/HOL.
That's complicated.
There it is.
blogs.vmware.com/HOL.
Yeah.
It's also on the directory on blogs.vmware.com.
Right. That's what I was looking for when I asked you what the blog was for HOL. Do we have a blog? What's the blog thing? And Elsa looks at me like, what? What are you talking
I thought you were
about?
asking what we do to promote blogs, to promote their blog.
Right, okay. All right, great. Okay, continue on, Dave. Got it. Watch the blog. Okay.
Watch the blog. The other important thing to keep in mind, we don't have room to run the HOL 2017 catalog and the 2016 catalog simultaneously. We give like a 3-month gap of a transition period. So by the end of this month, December 1st, all of the HOL-17, whatever, all those labs will be going away. So please try to transition now to the HOL-18 100 series labs. And then the last thing I'll leave you with is we do get this question a lot, is the ability to either download or view a version of the manual online without having to launch a lab the entire time. You can do that from our document site, and that one's pretty easy too. It's and I'll put it in the chat. It's just docs.hol.vmware.com, and you can see every lab manual that we have out there in any language that we have out there.
Nice.
That's great. I actually have one. I've got a question. Do labs run with the life cycle of the product as well? So I know we get vSphere 6.5. How long will those labs run until you no longer have those available?
Right. Yeah. Typically, those do go along with a development cycle, where we will, like the labs that were released last year. So from VMworld 2016, they're released in 2016, but live all the way until 2017 December, so the end of the year.
Okay.
Before those go away, and they're all licensed that way too. So any of the license keys in there will expire by that time. So by that point, they're gone.
Okay.
So they kind of follow that year-and-a-half cycle.
Very good.
Excellent.
Very good. Well, Dave Rollins, the Twitter account for HOL, if you want to follow along, anybody know what that is?
VMware HOL?
VMware HOL. So at VMware HOL, follow Dave and crew at VMware HOL. Always good stuff. And go take a few labs, make Dave happy, and send him some feedback if you have them, because I think he needs more ideas.
That's right.
Dave, thanks a lot for being on the show.
Thank you, Dave.
Appreciate it. Thanks for letting Pablo join in, and I'm sure we'll catch up with you sometime before VMworld to talk about what you guys are going to launch at VMworld when the season happens. So great to have you on, and we'll see you again next time.
Thanks, Dave.
Great, yeah, always a pleasure.
All right,
And thanks for the 20% raise.
Yeah, there you go. I'm sure that's going to happen for you. Yeah, for sure. No questions asked. So Corey and Elsa, I think we have a session where we're going to do some community roundtable discussion, what's happening with communities in general, and there has been a lot of interesting stuff in the community that's been going on, right? So Elsa, you did your session on how to be a power blogger, but also part of that power blogger is how to get more traffic to your blog, right? So I think maybe you could just summarize a little bit of what you talked about today in your session.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Eric. So we did a similar session at VMware, and essentially what I talked about today was that there's blogging, which is publishing to your blog site, but then there's power blogging, which is actually being able to target the right audience with that blog, and we've been working to implement a new project called Community as a Service, which if you were at VMworld or been following us on social, you may have been hearing a little bit about it, but basically what it's enabling us to do is cross-populate community content using object servers onto digital properties, whether it's a VMware branded corporate blog or a community blog. We're really just enabling the community to take their content and target interested users.
Yeah, did you have anybody show up at your session? I heard it's like a 9
No,
a.m.
it's just
one.
me.
Yeah,
just Katie Bradley. No, we actually did have a pretty solid turnout, and what I was excited about was there were a handful of bloggers there, so it was super relevant. People were here blogging at the VMUG UserCon. So
Were people asking questions afterwards?
They were, yeah. Simon Long from the EUC team was here. He offered to help us out with Community as a Service. He's been blogging forever. Mallory from NSX, and then a few bloggers who aren't internal VMware folks were there as well.
Nice. Thanks for doing that.
Yeah.
Did you give away a lot of BlogBeat posters?
Oh yeah, loads. All the ones we got back from.
You gave every single one that we got back from VMworld. We always ship
Which is
stuff.
0.
I think the truck is still parked outside with all of them in there. You guys are...
Inside joke here is that we ship stuff back from VMworld every year, and we probably had maybe 500 BlogBeat posters left that we were excited to get back. And of course, we got back all the tie-dye T-shirts we'd ever
that
want
we
from
can't
the
use
code
again.
Yeah, but did we get our posters back? No. Somebody somewhere out there has got like a garage, plastered with BlogBeat posters.
Wallpaper, yeah.
They're going to vinyl their car with BlogBeat posters.
Right.
They're cool posters.
Yeah,
They're cool posters.
So, and then you get stuff back roulette, right? Like, so we got a whole bunch of power chargers that were not ours. That we got like 250 power chargers
back roulette.
that we didn't even own, but now we got it, right? So you get some stuff back you want, and some stuff back you don't want, and it goes that way, and then stuff that never comes back. Well, thanks for doing that session. If you missed that session, I suspect we should probably put those slides online.
Yeah, absolutely. So
maybe we'll record you.
We do. Yeah, that would be a great idea. We do still have the recording from VMworld, but so we can watch that in the meantime. But that would be awesome if we did a recorded session. I'll put the slide PDFs on VMTN.
Right. I think we have 300 plus people, close to that are in the VMTN network program, which is our plan to evangelize their blog articles as content objects inserted in various properties that we own as well as community properties.
Yep.
So, we're looking forward to that. I know we're right in the midst of that project, working on that, so that should be fun. Anything else? I know we have to go to the panel in about 5 more minutes. Anything else we want to share about the Silicon Valley VMUG UserCon? My assessment is it's really crowded, right? There's a lot of people here, right? So it's kind of fun to just not have to travel and be part of this.
Food looks good.
That's Corey's contribution, guys. The food looks good.
Well, only because people always ask, hey, how was the food, right? So I was at Dreamforce yesterday, and I did the food assessment at Dreamforce. I just had to turn over.
So this is Corey's
the Bay report.
What
smells
good?
good?
The food.
I manage you, but I actually consider myself a coach. I'm not very much of a manager, so I'm a coach.
Yeah.
My coaching to you is, eat some food before you go to these things, and maybe you won't be so concerned about the quality of the food. Eat a breakfast.
I'm actually not concerned. I'm just more concerned for the community. Because the community always has opinions about food.
Right?
Yes, right.
The expert
food
analysis. Right. Is that going to be in the new Be Expert app that's going to roll out?
Rate the food.
Rate the food at the events. Awesome.
We'll make that as community object.
The silent person here that's over in the corner, Katie Bradley. If you happen to watch us on the live stream, it's all because of Katie. So Katie, thanks a lot for doing that. It's part of VMTN, our online community efforts. We do all online. People ask me what's the difference between VMUG and communities that are at VMware, and the answer is we have some programs that help people establish their brands, right? So a lot of what we do is enablement of the community as ecosystem big brands, right? So Yellow Bricks and all the Geek Whisperers and all these guys, John Troyer, we want them to be out there. So a lot of what we do is that, but a lot of what we do is also online, right?
Yep.
We still own the online charter around the globe for the online community ecosystem, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, and all the different properties. And Katie runs the VMTN network program, which pulls all those together. So Katie, thanks for being here. Thanks for being one of the crew, even though you're not in front of the camera.
Yes, thank you, Katie.
Yeah. All right, with that, we're going to hit the big end button, and we're going to move on to the show, which should be fun for the rest of the afternoon. And we finally don't have to do work. We can relax and enjoy the rest of the community.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining, guys, and we'll see you again next week. We do have somebody that is scheduled. I forget who it is. I think it's vSphere or somebody else's. We've got booked for next week. Tommy Barry is on the chat, but we'll know he's gone. So I don't know who's next week, but we do have a guest next week, so we will be on, and we will be live streaming, and we fixed the audio for the live stream this year. So this week, so good for us.
Yep.
All right.
Great.
Call recording has been completed.